start by thanking WACSI for this report. It's 80 pages report, and I took my time to read the report. And it's fantastic. What this means for me is that people actually understand the importance of documentation and the importance of writing this kind of report. It's a fantastic one, and thank you, WACSI. And I pray and I hope that the report doesn't just end on shelf. However, I think that there are a few things that that are striking to me in the report. One of which is I looked at the report and I found out that there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. And if we are going to address that, is that we need to find a way to begin to address the issue of the issue of civil society impact in West Africa is one that we need to address the issue of capacity, which the report actually talked about. We need to find a way to begin to address the issue of capacity. So many of the civil society organizations do not have the required capacity to do the kind of job they need to do. So within the WACSI, at the level of WACSI, I think that is important that we begin to find a way to begin to build capacity so that people will be able to have the required skill to push for the kind of work we do. But one thing that also struck me the most is that when I look at the challenges, I was shocked. This is my first time. Honestly, I am shocked to know that from the WACSI report that 42.2% of CSOs in West Africa operate below $20,000 annually. When I saw that yesterday night, when I was reading this report, I was shocked. I said, what's that? So if 42.2 are operating below $20,000 annually, so how do we do the work? And it's only 6.6% that have more than $500,000. So if you look at it this way, it becomes a very big problem for me. So the question is, irrespective of the fact that we need to do bigger things, I think that within the WACSI and other big organizations within the West Africa, there should be conversation about development funding, that development financing. So what kind of money should be put together to do this kind of job? Do we just need to have this kind of peanuts given to a huge number of organizations, which is about 42.2%, just to go in there to do work below 20%, $20,000? So what needs, how do we begin to have conversation about development funding? And that also takes me to the conversation we had with WACSI the last time they came to Abuja for training on even distribution of resources in development work. That needs to be addressed. And when we do that, it's also going to address the issue of what they are talking about, collaboration. And that's why sometimes within the civil society, West Africa, I also feel, I pity and I also feel for smaller organizations. Because whether we like it or not, in Nigeria where I live, I think that one of the things we need to do within the civil society, that there should be effective and efficient collaboration. But the question is, within the civil society themselves and within even the government, what kind of collaboration, how has collaboration become successful in this country, in West Africa? In Nigeria, where I live, I don't think that we have up to 5 or 6 successful coalitions And why? It's very difficult to have effective collaboration. We keep looking at ourselves as competitors rather than collaborators. So it's important that when and that's why I am very happy about the kind of research that WACSI has thrown out. It shows clearly to me that beyond the conversation about civil society, people will now know, if you pick up these reports, you really begin to understand that there's really no money for development work in West Africa. And we have serious capacity deficits. And we have the issue of collaboration. And I don't want to talk about corruption, but because of course corruption is there, but the question is all the work we do, how will WACSI help to put this kind of work out for everybody to see? Because the conversation about civil society or liberty, oh, you guys are just enjoying. That's average man on the street will just think you guys are just enjoying. So we constantly struggle, and that's why even within the civil society, that's why this is good for me, because even when if WACSI goes back to have a kind of research again, you now find out that many civil society, even in Nigeria where I live, find it difficult to tell their story. And this is because what often happens is that many of us are so interested in activity driven. People are not paying attention to impact, and which is what WACSI has done. So to the question, how would this impact the work we do in West Africa? Let me talk with Nigeria, for instance. I think that if you come to Nigeria today, where I live, politicians have taken up the soul of the state. The media, who are supposed to even be the ones speaking for the people, are being compromised. How do we begin to ensure that the only thing left, which is the civil society, is allowed to stand? For me, really, this is this is the most important for us. Because we've shown that if not for civil society, I doubt if Nigerian states by now would have democracy. Because we cannot discuss democracy, democratization, and reforms, particularly in the area of electoral reform. Although the 2023 election has shown that all the successes recorded in electoral reform are no longer available, are no longer feasible, but that does not mean that the civil society aren't doing enough. It's important that we come back again to ask the question which WACSI, the first guy that spoke, said. What kind of civil society do you want to have? When we ask this question, then we begin to build the capacity of young men and women who will now come on board. And that's why I am so happy, because WACSI is leading the road in terms of research. Because what happened, because I always argue that one of the challenges we have had over time is that the young generation of civil society in West Africa, particularly in Nigeria where I live, aren't interested in research, aren't interested in capacity building regarding intellectual capacity. And that's why most of our advocacies don't have much of it's not informed advocacy. And until we begin to do that, we are not going to develop, because whether we like it or not, in the Nigeria where I live, where I see the hope of the Nigerian state today lies on the hands of the civil society. Because the media is already taken. The politicians are already, the state is already a captured state. So let me conclude by saying, that WACSI research has thrown up a lot of issues. For me, beyond the impact the civil society is making, WACSI report has actually shown me, in particular, that I've always been in the misconception that there are money for there's money development financing in this country, in West Africa, but it's not true. How do we begin to talk to donor funders? How do we begin to talk in terms of individuals? How do we begin to talk in terms of philanthropies? How do we support the kind of work we do? Who leads this? Of course, I know that WACSI is already teaching NGOs how to mobilize resources. But how effective is that within the kind of work we do? And I also thank WACSI because I know that WACSI has fellowship where they train people, civil society, the issue of capacity, because capacity is the issue. I have watched lots of young people on national television discussing issues, and you discover that we do not even have understanding of what we are talking about. And that's why capacity, which is why this research is very fantastic for me. We need to address capacity. We need to find money to do the job. We need to identify the real civil society, genuine, who are actually genuinely doing the work, who are in there because of issue of money. But of course, let me stop here because I could be talking this for the next 2 hours. I know 10 minutes. I think my time is over.
Thank you very much.